Welcome back to Z Coins. Today's video. We're diving deep into one of the most commonly overlooked but potentially valuable coins in American history, the 1966 Roosevelt one-dime coin. That's right. A simple 10-cent piece from over half a century ago might just be worth a surprising amount of money today. So let's break down everything you need to know about this little silver-colored coin, from its background and history to its minting, variations, and current market value. You'll definitely want to check your pocket change after this. First, let's go back in time and explore the origins of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away in April 1945. He led the country through the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also a key supporter of the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio. So it made perfect sense that the dime would carry his image. The coin was designed by John Arsenic, who was the chief engraver of the United States Mint. His initials, JS, appear at the base of Roosevelt's neck on most Roosevelt dimes. Now, fast forward 20 years to the year 1966. This was a transitional period for the U.S. Mint. Just a year earlier in 1965, the Mint had removed all silver content from dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and the increasing cost of coin production. That means the 1966 Roosevelt dime was one of the early coins to be minted with a clad composition. That is, a coin made of copper and nickel, not silver. These post-1964 dimes have an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. While they may look silver in color, they actually contain no silver at all. The 1966 Roosevelt dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, due to the Mint's efforts to discourage coin hoarding during the coin shortage of the 1960s, no mint marks were used on dimes between 1965 and 1967. So if you've got a 1966 dime, it will not have a mint mark, even though it was made in Philadelphia. So how many of these dimes were made in 1966? The number is absolutely massive. Over 1.3 billion Roosevelt dimes were struck that year. That's billion with a B. Because of that, most 1966 dimes are still very common and can be found in pocket change to this day. However, as with many coins, the details matter. While most 1966 dimes are worth just face value, 10 cents, there are certain exceptions that can sell for big money. Let's talk about condition and grading. In numismatics, coin condition is everything. A coin in heavily circulated condition may only be worth its face value, but a coin that has never been used, that has been kept in pristine condition since it left the mint, is known as an uncirculated or mint state coin. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered gem uncirculated. The highest possible grade is MS 70, which is flawless. Now here's where things get interesting. A 1966 Roosevelt dime in uncirculated condition, especially one graded MS 67 or MS 68, can sell for much more than face value. For example, as of this year, a 1966 Roosevelt dime graded MS 68 with full bands on the reverse can sell for over $1,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. Over $1,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even glance at. So what are these full bands? On the reverse of the Roosevelt dime, you'll see a torch, and around that torch are two olive branches. Across the torch are horizontal lines or bands. When a coin is struck with fresh dies and great pressure, these bands appear sharp and well-defined. This is known as full bands. Collectors place a premium on dimes that show full, uninterrupted bands because they indicate a very high-quality strike. Coins without full bands are still collectible, but they are not as valuable. Beyond condition and strike quality, there are also error coins and varieties to look for. The U.S. Mint sometimes makes mistakes during the coin production process. These mistakes can include double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, and more. Error coins can be quite valuable, depending on their rarity and how dramatic the error is. For example, a 1966 dime with a dramatic off-center strike could sell for hundreds of dollars. Similarly, a dime struck on the wrong planchet, such as a penny or foreign coin planchet, can also be worth a significant amount. Always inspect your coins carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Now let's look at the current market value of the 1966 Roosevelt dime. As of this year, most circulated 1966 dimes are still only worth 10 cents. That's no surprise, given how many were made and how few were preserved in high condition. However, uncirculated examples graded MS-66 can bring in around $5 to $20, depending on demand. MS-67 examples can go for $50 or more. But MS-68 and above, especially with full bands, are where the real value lies. These coins can sell for several hundred to over $1,000 at major auctions. Another important point to consider is that even if your coin is not a valuable variety, if it's in brilliant condition or part of a complete collection, it could still command interest from buyers. Coin collectors always seek to complete date sets or high-grade examples, so the market for well-preserved coins is steady and active. If you're serious about coin collecting or just curious about the coins in your possession, it's worth learning how to grade coins and spot key features. You don't need expensive equipment, just a magnifier, good lighting, and some reference materials like the Red Book or professional grading websites. So let's recap. The 1966 Roosevelt dime was minted during a time of major transition for American coinage. While it contains no silver and was produced in huge numbers, high-grade examples, coins with full bands, and rare mint errors can still be worth a surprising amount. Some have sold for hundreds or even over $1,000 at auction. So the next time you come across a dime from 1966, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. It might just be hiding a small treasure in your pocket change. We are diving into a fascinating topic that might just make you take a second look at your pocket change. We are talking about the 1994 Roosevelt dime. That tiny 10-cent piece could be worth way more than its face value, and today I will tell you why. First, let's go back in time and understand the history of the Roosevelt dime. The design was first introduced in 1946 following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The dime was redesigned to honor him not only because he led the country through the Great Depression and World War II, but also because of his strong support for the March of Dimes campaign, which fought polio, a disease he personally battled. The design has remained relatively unchanged since its debut in 1946. On the front side of the coin, we have the profile of Roosevelt himself with the words Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the year of mintage, and of course the mint mark. The reverse of the coin features a torch symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch on the left representing peace and an oak branch on the right representing strength and independence. Now let's talk about the year 1994 and the Denver Mint mark. The D Mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, where these coins were produced. In that year, the Denver Mint struck over 1.8 billion Roosevelt dimes. That's right, billion with a B. So the 1994 Roosevelt dime is far from rare in its regular circulated form. Most of them are worth exactly 10 cents, however. Here is where things get interesting. Some 1994 dimes can be worth a lot more depending on their condition and in some cases due to rare mint errors. So let's break it down. If you have a 1994 dime that has been in circulation showing wear and tear, scratches, discoloration, or nicks, it is likely still worth just face value. But if you happen to have one in uncirculated condition, or even better, a coin that has been graded and certified by a professional grading service, you could be holding on to a much more valuable piece. Mint state coins, especially those graded MS-65 and above, can fetch anywhere from $1 to $5 depending on the market. It doesn't sound like much, but remember, that's 50 times its face value. And it only goes up from there. Dimes graded MS-67 or higher can sell for even more. There have been auction sales of 1994 Roosevelt dimes in MS-68 condition that sold for over $70, and in some rare cases even higher. So why do collectors pay that kind of money for what seems like an ordinary dime? It all comes down to quality and scarcity at the highest grades. Out of the billions made, very few survive in perfect condition. Most coins are struck quickly and handled roughly during the minting and shipping process. Coins with full bands on the torch on the reverse, strong strikes, and pristine surfaces are especially sought after. Now let's talk about errors. Coin errors are some of the most exciting finds in the numismatic world. While not common, there are error dimes from 1994 that have sold for hundreds of dollars. Here are a few to keep an eye out for. Number 1. Off-center strikes. These occur when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process. If the strike is off-center by more than 10% and the date and mint mark are still visible, you could be looking at a coin worth $50 to $100 or more. Number 2. Double dies. These are coins where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. Look carefully at the lettering, especially Liberty or In God We Trust. If you notice any doubling, it's worth getting checked out. Number 3. Clipped planchets. That's when a portion of the coin is missing because of a misfeed in the coin blanking machine. Depending on how dramatic the clip is and how much of the coin is affected, these errors can be worth a lot more than face value. In number 4. Die cracks and cud errors. These occur when the dies used to strike the coins become damaged or cracked, causing raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. While not always hugely valuable, die cracks can still increase interest and value to collectors. So how do you know if your 1994 D-dime is worth anything? First, check the condition. If it looks shiny and new, you may have something worth grading. Then check for errors or oddities. Use a magnifying glass to examine the details carefully. And if you think you've found something special, consider sending it to a grading service like PCGS or Ink. Let's talk briefly about how grading affects value. A raw coin, even in great condition, may only fetch a few dollars. But a certified coin in a PCGS holder with a grade of MS68 can command premium prices. Recently, a 1994 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 sold at auction for around $170. That's 1,700 times its face value. Pretty impressive for a dime. Now for the most important question. What is the current market value in 2025 for a 1994 D Roosevelt dime in circulated condition? Still just 10 cents. In uncirculated raw condition, maybe a couple of dollars. In high mint state grades, between $10 and $50. And for certified top population coins with perfect strike and eye appeal, you're looking at values over $100 and sometimes more depending on buyer demand. So next time you get change from a store or crack open a jar of coins, take a close look at your dimes. That little 1994 D Roosevelt dime might not seem like much, but in the right condition or with a rare error, it could be worth a surprising amount of money. We are shining a spotlight on a small but mighty coin that could be sitting in your pocket change right now. I am talking about the 1996 P Roosevelt dime. You might be wondering, how can a simple 10-cent piece from the 90s possibly be worth more than face value? Stick around because we are about to uncover everything you need to know about this coin's history, the reason it could be valuable, what makes it collectible, and how much it is selling for in today's market. Let us start with a little history. The Roosevelt dime has been in circulation since 1946. It was created to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. Roosevelt played a major role in the founding of the March of Dimes, an organization that originally aimed to combat polio. So it made perfect sense to place his image on the dime. The design has remained largely the same ever since, with Roosevelt's profile on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Now let us fast forward to 1996. That year was special for Roosevelt dimes for one major reason. It marked the 50th anniversary of the series. To celebrate, the U.S. Mint struck a special silver-proof dime at the West Point Mint with a W mint mark. But that is not the focus of today's video. We are talking about the Philadelphia Mint strike, the one with the P mint mark. The 1996 P Roosevelt dime was a circulation strike, which means millions were produced for everyday use. In fact, over 1 billion of these dimes were minted. That is right. More than 1.4 billion to be exact. So at first glance, this might seem like an extremely common coin with no real value to collectors. But here is where it gets interesting. Even among billions of coins, there are always standouts. The 1996 P Roosevelt dime becomes valuable when you find one in exceptional condition, or if it has rare errors. First, let us talk condition. Most dimes from this year have been through years of wear and tear. But if you find one that has been well preserved in brilliant uncirculated or mint state condition, its value can go way up. Collectors pay close attention to luster, strike sharpness, and absence of scratches or contact marks. In terms of grading, coins are evaluated on a 70-point scale, with MS60 being the lowest mint state and MS70 being a perfect coin. A 1996 P Roosevelt dime graded MS65 or higher is quite collectible. In fact, a dime graded MS67 or MS68 can fetch impressive prices at auction. Let me give you a real-world example. A 1996 P Roosevelt dime graded MS68 full torch, which means the horizontal and vertical lines of the torch on the reverse are fully defined, sold at auction for over $800. That is right. A coin worth just 10 cents by face value, sold for almost $1,000 just because of its condition and strike quality. Now let us get into some of the errors and varieties that make the 1996 P dime especially interesting. One of the most desirable types of error is the double die. This occurs when the coin is struck with a die that has a slight misalignment, resulting in a doubling of some design elements. For the Roosevelt dime, look closely at the motto "In God We Trust" or the word "Liberty" on the obverse. Any visible doubling could indicate a double die variety, which can significantly boost value depending on severity and clarity. Another type of error is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned in the press, leading to part of the design being missing. A slight off-center strike might only be worth a few dollars, but a dime that is 30 or 40% off-center and still shows the date and mint mark could be worth $50 or more. Then we have the broad strike error, where the collar die fails to restrain the coin during striking, causing it to spread out. These can be visually dramatic and collectible as well. So, how much is your 1996 P Roosevelt dime worth today? For a coin in circulated condition, meaning it has been used in daily commerce and shows signs of wear, it will usually be worth face value, 10 cents. However, a coin in mint state condition can range from $1 to $50 depending on grade. If it has full torch details and is graded MS67 or higher, you could be looking at a coin worth between $100 and $800. Error coins, depending on the type and severity, can fetch anywhere from $5 to several hundred. A spectacular error or a top pop coin, meaning it is one of the highest graded examples known, can bring in even more. There are collectors who specifically look for top-grade Roosevelt dimes and are willing to pay a premium to complete their sets. So what should you do if you think you have a valuable 1996 P dime? First, handle it carefully. Avoid touching the surface directly. Store it in a coin flip or holder. Then, consider getting it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade adds credibility and helps you get the best price if you decide to sell. You can also check online marketplaces like eBay to see what similar coins are selling for. But make sure you are comparing apples to apples. A raw coin listed for $500 does not mean it is worth that much unless it is graded or proven to have an error. To wrap things up, the 1996 P Roosevelt dime is not just a regular piece of change. While most are common and worth only face value, there are gems out there that can fetch big bucks, especially if they are in pristine condition or feature striking errors. It goes to show that sometimes the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. So the next time you get change at the store, do not overlook those dimes. You never know. That shiny little coin might just be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. We dig deep into the history and hidden value of everyday coins that might just be worth a fortune. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of the 2003 D Roosevelt dime. This little 10-cent piece might look ordinary at first glance, but believe me, it's got some secrets. Whether you're a coin collector, a casual change checker, or someone who just found this dime in your pocket, stay tuned. You might be holding on to something a lot more valuable than 10 cents. So what makes the 2003 D Roosevelt dime special? Is it rare? Is it valuable? Is it worth keeping? Let's find out. Let's begin with the history. The Roosevelt dime was first minted in 1946, right after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His leadership during the Great Depression and World War II left a major impact on the nation. And as the founder of the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio, it made perfect sense to honor him on the 10-cent coin. The coin features his portrait on the obverse side and a torch with olive and oak branches on the reverse. It was designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. Now fast forward to 2003. By this time, the Roosevelt dime had been in production for over 50 years. Most dimes in this era were made of a clad composition, meaning they're made from layers of copper and nickel rather than silver. So right off the bat, unless your dime is a special error or proof coin, its melt value isn't going to be worth much. So let's get into the details of the 2003 D dime. The D stands for Denver Mint, which struck over 480 million of these coins that year. That's right, nearly 500 million 2003 D dimes were made. That makes it a very common coin in circulation. So from a mintage standpoint, it's not rare at all. But here's where things get interesting. Even with that massive number of coins minted, certain rare varieties and errors have shown up that can make this otherwise common coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's look at some types of valuable errors to watch for. First, we've got the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned with the die and gets struck off-center. The more off-center it is, especially if it's still dated and has a full or partial mint mark, the more valuable. A 2003 Roosevelt dime with a strong off-center strike can sell for $50 to $150 or more, depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Next, look out for double die errors, especially on the obverse. These are known as DDOs or double die obverse, where parts of the design like the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust appear doubled. A strong double die error on a 2003 dime could be worth $100 or more. These are rare but not impossible to find. Then there's the clipped planchet error. This is when a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a mishap during the blanking process. A clean clipped planchet from 2003 can fetch anywhere from $50 to $200 depending on how dramatic the clip is and how much of the coin's design is still intact. Another super valuable error is the transitional error, though none have been confirmed yet from 2003. But never say never. If you find a 2003 dime made with the wrong metal composition, it could be a major discovery. For example, if you find one struck on a silver planchet, extremely unlikely but not impossible, that could be a 5-figure coin. Let's talk now about grading and condition. Even if your 2003 dime has no errors, the condition still matters a lot. A coin that's been through circulation and has wear is usually worth just its face value. But an uncirculated coin, especially one graded MS67 or higher, can be worth serious money. Let's break that down. MS stands for mint state, and the higher the number, the better the condition. MS60 is the lowest mint state grade and MS70 is a perfect coin. A 2003 Roosevelt dime graded MS67 by PCGS or NGC can sell for $30 to $50. MS68 examples are rare and can sell for over $150 or more. And if you somehow have a dime in MS69 nearly perfect, it could sell for $500 or more, though that's extremely rare for a clad dime from the 2000s. Now let's look at real market data and auction results. A 2003 Roosevelt dime in MS68 condition sold at auction for over $300 in recent years. That might not sound like much, but remember, this is a coin you could find in pocket change. So that's a 3,000 times return on investment. Another example, a 2003 dime with a strong off-center strike sold for $175 on eBay. Again, not bad for a 10-cent coin. So what does this all mean for you? If you have a 2003 Roosevelt dime, here's what to do. Step 1. Check the condition. If it's beat up or worn, it's probably only worth 10 cents. Step 2. Look for any obvious errors. Is it missing part of the rim? Is it off-center? Is anything on the front or back doubled? Step 3. If you think you've got something unusual or it looks flawless, get it graded. PCGS and NGC are the two main grading services, and while they charge a fee, it could be worth it if your dime is a high mint state or has a rare error. Step 4. Check recent sales online. eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections are good places to see what similar coins are selling for. And Step 5. Hang on to it if it's special. As time goes on, these high-grade or rare error coins can only go up in value. So what's the current market value? Here's a quick summary. Face value: 10 cents circulated condition, 10 to 15 cents mint state MS65, around $5 to $10 MS67, $30 to $50 MS68, $150 and up. Major error coins, anywhere from $50 to over $1,000 depending on rarity and severity. That's why we say, always check your change. You never know when an ordinary-looking dime might be worth a fortune. We are diving deep into the story of the 2014 Roosevelt dime, a tiny coin that you might have sitting in your pocket change right now, but could be worth a lot more than just 10 cents. Stick around, because by the end of this video you might be reaching for your change jar. So what makes the 2014 Roosevelt dime so interesting? Let us begin with a bit of history. The Roosevelt dime was first issued in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. Roosevelt was a major figure in American history, serving 4 terms as president and guiding the United States through the Great Depression and World War II. The dime was chosen to commemorate Roosevelt because of his association with the March of Dimes, a foundation dedicated to fighting polio, a disease he battled personally. Now fast forward to 2014, the Denver Mint issued millions of Roosevelt dimes that year, specifically over 1.1 1 billion with a B. That means the average 2014 D dime is incredibly common and normally only worth its face value of 10 cents, but wait, not all of them are created equal. While most 2014 D dimes are standard circulation coins, there are rare varieties and high-grade examples that can sell for impressive amounts to collectors. Condition, rarity, and mint errors are the three keys to value. Let us break each one down. First, let us talk about condition. The coin grading scale runs from 1 to 70 with coins graded 70 considered perfect. A 2014 D Roosevelt dime in mint state or MS65 and above can be worth much more than face value. For example, according to recent sales, a 2014 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 by PCGS has sold for over $250. These coins are rare because very few survive in perfect or near perfect condition straight from the mint. Next, let us talk about errors. Error coins are always a hot topic among collectors because they are often one of a kind or extremely limited in number. The 2014 D Roosevelt dime has been found with some fascinating minting mistakes. Some examples include off-center strikes, double dies, missing clad layers, and die cracks. Let us take a look at a few error types. One example is the double die obverse or DDO. This is where the design appears doubled, often most visible in the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." A strong double die on a 2014 D dime could bring in hundreds of dollars, especially if certified by a reputable grading service. Another dramatic error is the off-center strike if the coin was not properly aligned in the press during minting. The design can appear shifted or incomplete if the off-center strike is dramatic and the date is still fully visible. It could be worth over $100 depending on how far off the strike is. Then there are missing clad layer errors. Normally dimes are made with a copper core and a nickel-clad outer layer, but sometimes the nickel layer fails to bond correctly and flakes off, resulting in a strange-looking copper-colored coin. These can easily fetch $50 or more. Now let us talk about die cracks and cuds. These are raised lines or blobs of metal caused by a damaged die. A cud is a chunk of metal where a piece of the die actually broke away. These are highly collectible depending on their size and placement. Some 2014 D Roosevelt dimes with cuds have sold for $30 to $75. But what about proof dimes, you might ask? The 2014 D dime was not issued in proof form by the Denver Mint since proofs are only struck in San Francisco. However, some coins may appear extremely detailed and reflective and might be mistaken for proofs. These are often just well-struck business strikes or enhanced uncirculated coins, which can still command a premium if they are in pristine condition. Now, let us dive into market trends and recent auction prices. As of 2025, the market value for a standard 2014 D Roosevelt dime in circulated condition remains around face value. However, certified high-grade examples, especially those graded MS68 or higher, continue to see strong demand. A recent auction recorded a sale of a 2014 D Roosevelt dime graded MS68 full torch by NGC that sold for over $300. Full torch refers to the bands on the torch on the reverse being fully struck and separated, a detail that is highly prized by serious collectors. If you think you might have a valuable 2014 D Roosevelt dime, here is what you should do. First, examine the coin carefully under good lighting. A jeweler's loupe or USB microscope can help look for signs of doubling, strange coloration, or off center design. If it looks promising, consider sending it to a professional grading company such as PCGS or NGC. Certification not only authenticates the coin, but also helps you get the best price if you decide to. We're diving into the story of the 2017 P Roosevelt dime, a seemingly ordinary coin that could be worth much more than its face value if you know what to look for. Whether you just found one in your change or you're a seasoned numismatist, you'll want to stay tuned because we're going deep into the coin's background, the details that add value, and the current market worth. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the origins of the Roosevelt dime itself. Introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, this 10-cent piece replaced the Mercury dime. It was designed by John Arsenic, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. Roosevelt had passed away the previous year in 1945, and because of his instrumental role in founding the March of Dimes, it was fitting that his portrait appeared on the coin. Now fast forward to the year 2017. This was the 72nd year of the Roosevelt dime's production. The coin continued to feature Roosevelt's left-facing profile on the obverse with the inscriptions "Liberty, In God We Trust," the year 2017, and the mint mark P for the Philadelphia Mint. What made 2017 especially notable is that it was just 1 year after the 2016 W Mercury dime tribute, and the Mint had ramped up its quality controls, but that doesn't mean errors disappeared. In fact, that's where things get interesting. In terms of mintage, the 2017 P Roosevelt dime was produced in massive quantities. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.2 billion of these dimes. That's billion with a B. So by default, a 2017 P-dime is very common and generally worth only its face value of 10 cents in circulated condition. However, not all coins are created equal, and that's why some of these dimes have sold for big money. Let's talk about condition first. A standard circulated 2017 P-dime has minimal collectible value, but if you have an uncirculated example, especially one graded MS-67 or higher, you could be looking at a value of a few dollars up to around $15 to $20 depending on the market. But coins graded at MS-68 or higher are much rarer. Only a handful are known to exist in top condition. Those coins can fetch $50 or more. In some cases, they've sold for over $100 at auction. The highest price recorded for a pristine 2017 P-dime in superb gem condition was around $150. Not bad for a coin most people toss in a change jar. But condition is only part of the story. Where it gets really exciting is with errors and varieties. The US Mint produces billions of coins every year, and even with high-tech machinery, mistakes still happen. And error coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For the 2017 P Roosevelt dime, look for the following types of errors. First, off-center strikes. If the coin's design is noticeably shifted and you can still see a full date and mint mark, it may be worth anywhere from $20 to over $100 depending on how dramatic the error is. The more off-center and still legible, the more valuable. Next, look for double dies. A double die occurs when the coin is struck by a die that has a doubled image. If the doubling is visible on the date, mint mark, or inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, you could be looking at a valuable coin. These kinds of errors are rare for the 2017 P-dime, but they have been reported by collectors. Values range from $20 to several $100s depending on clarity and demand. Another error to watch for is die cracks or die breaks. These look like raised lines on the surface of the coin. While minor die cracks don't usually bring much money, larger cracks or retained die breaks, which look like a chunk of the coin shifted during striking, can be worth more to the right collector. Then you have coins struck on the wrong planchet. That means a dime was accidentally struck on a metal blank meant for a different coin, like a penny or a foreign coin. These are extremely rare, but if you find one, it could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. They usually weigh differently, so using a scale can help spot these. Now let's take a quick look at the current market. As of now, in 2025, average uncirculated examples of the 2017 P Roosevelt dime in MS-65 to MS-67 condition typically sell for between $2 and $15. Higher graded specimens, especially MS-68 and above, can command prices of $40 to over $100 if sold through the right auction platform. Error coins continue to attract strong interest, especially when certified by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. Prices for dramatic errors range from $30 to $500 or more, depending on rarity and visual appeal. So what should you do if you find a 2017 P Roosevelt dime that looks unusual or is in great shape? First, inspect it carefully with a magnifier or jeweler's loupe. Look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, unusual shapes, or anything that just doesn't look right. If it seems promising, consider weighing it. A normal dime should weigh about 2.27 grams. Anything more or less might indicate a planchet error. Next, compare it to high-quality images of known errors online. If you think you've got something special, send it to a third-party grading service for authentication. Coins and holders from PCGS or NGC tend to sell for higher values and are trusted by collectors. So to recap, the 2017 P Roosevelt dime may be common in general, but it holds potential for serious value if it's in top condition or features a striking mint error. With billions produced, the challenge is sifting through and spotting the rare gems. Check your change, search your coin rolls, and inspect every dime closely, because one small coin could turn into a big find. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more coin collecting tips, coin values, and deep dives into American coin history. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare dime or if you think you might have a valuable 2017 Roosevelt dime. Until next time, happy collecting and keep checking your pocket change.